Welcome to Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. I'm your host, Nancy O'Neill. Each week I speak with local professionals on a wide range of topics, from fitness to finances and from dance to dentistry. We are here to give you tips and advice on how you can live a happy and healthier life no matter what age you may be. This season, we've been talking about the effects of dance when it comes to aging gracefully. Tiana Ramirez with Astaire Dance Studios joins us once more with a deeper look at the social, physical, and mental benefits of dancing. So we've kind of gone over those in the last several segments, yes. But we're going to get into, again, all of the benefits because they're all so important. So we'll start with social. What are the social benefits that people can get from just dancing and having fun?
You know, there's so many. So it's like, where do I start? It's kind of interesting though, because in the very beginning, we first ask, students when they're getting started in the studio to think about things that they would like to gain through dancing beside learning how to dance. Mm-hmm. And it's a question when they go, well, wait, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. But honestly, probably 95% of everyone turns out saying more fun and enjoyment out of life is one of their main benefits that they're looking to add into what they already have going on. And I know we've kind of talked, in a past segment about what we do in our studio with our socials every Friday night. We really do turn it into a nightlife situation. Yeah. We have a DJ, we have drinks, sometimes we serve food. So we're trying to create a safe environment to where that they feel comfortable practicing what they've been learning, but also they're surrounded by people that are doing the same thing that they're doing, and that we all enjoy it. Yeah. So kind of like any hobby or something that you're interested in, when you're sharing it with so many people, it's a judge-free zone, and we're all kind of like happy and enjoying what we're experiencing through dance.
Yeah. And it is much more fun doing that. I mean, people love to go out dancing
all the time.
And what better way to do it than with your peers, basically,
all the time.
Or you're going to learn from people that have been dancing longer, and they'll have stories to share with you about what they went through when they were learning.
Constantly, because we see that all the time. In the very beginning, it's like, oh, I'm scared to maybe come to a party, even though that they're saying that they would like more fun and enjoyment. Also, a big one is to meet new people. Great opportunity as well, because with the shows like Dancing with the Stars and So You Think You Can Dance, the demographics are all over the place. Yeah. We have kids, we have adults, we have middle-aged, we have couples, we have singles, so they're able to meet people, again, that share their common interest. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get to touch base on this a little bit last time, but, we also travel the world dancing. This time, actually last year, I believe I was in Montenegro.
Oh my gosh.
And we were with a group of our students who had never been to Europe and wanted to travel and experience dance over there.
How fun.
Adding in like traveling, and obviously we have the competition side of things too, which open up all the same type of social benefits. Mm-hmm. Meeting people, a sense of accomplishment, achievement, it's kind of like Disney, really.
Disney for dancers. I like it.
Disney for dancers. It really is. Okay. About the same price as Disney too.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's you get a lot more out of it. It's long lasting.
Exactly.
Dancing is. How about physical benefits? What are those like?
A ton. One of my favorite that I always go to is 1 hour of dancing equals about 3 miles of running.
And much more fun.
So I don't know about you. Well, running on a treadmill, bored. Yeah. Running outside, too hot. Yeah. But that's one of my favorite that I always like to talk about because, we don't really understand that. How could 1 hour of dancing equal 3 miles of running? It's because dancing is weight-bearing exercise. Mm-hmm. So you're engaging muscles that you're not really used to using. Sure. You're kind of like, oh, I've got a muscle back here and a muscle here and my ankles. What's going on in my ankles now? Yeah. Because you're engaging all different body parts. And one thing that I know we talked about before too was overall balance. Sure. Being able to strengthen your overall balance, which is huge in, as you're aging. One of the main things that we hear is that, falls, mm-hmm. and how common it is. Mm-hmm. But you know, studies are kind of going back with people that are being able to dance. You know, you're increasing your natural walking ability.
Sure.
You're establishing a better balance, not to mention you're engaging your core when you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yep.
You don't have to hold a plank and be all miserable. You can just
You're
dance
just having fun. Okay.
you don't realize it.
And then the mental health benefits.
Yes. And that was our last segment,
Yes.
was the mental health.
It's huge.
It's insane. You know, I don't ever want to turn down other activities like crossword puzzles or Sudoku or anything that's constantly stimulating your brain. But one of my personal experiences with working with a triathlete, I was very concerned because in the very beginning it's not very intense physically yet. It can be, not right away. So I was thinking to myself, how am I going to reach this person?
Sure.
Well, I had to get him to start thinking. So he started using his brain, and all of a sudden things started changing. You know, and being able to constantly exercise that muscle.
And that's what
insane.
it is. It's a muscle that you have to exercise.
100%. You know.
So he turned around, and what happened?
He kept dancing. You know, and then another fact that I know we spoke about before was, you know, senior citizens who ballroom dance are 76% less likely to develop dementia.
There you go.
You know, it's not just a physical, it is constantly exercising your mind. You're having to think about what you're doing, take it from here, put it in your body, put it in your feet, and then it's an entire muscle memory. And it's a lifelong skill. You don't ever lose it.
There you go. Great. Great way to end. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
All good. Let's go dancing.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Right after the break, more tips from Dr. Jenny Wilkins, so don't go away. Everyone loses hair, and it's normal to lose about 50 to 100 hairs every day. Dr. Jenny from ageVital Pharmacy is back with us, and today we're going to be discussing how to keep your hair healthy and strong. Welcome back.
Hi, Nancy.
Another interesting topic.
Yeah.
And this is men and women lose hair, but why?
Everybody, about 85% of, because the stats show that according to the American Academy of Dermatology, because that's actually who you would go to, you know, when it comes to hair loss, or an endocrinologist. So you have from the age group from 16 to about 65, people losing hair all of a sudden. It's like, what's going on in our environment that's causing women to have either dry and brittle hair, or hair that is thinning out, or it's just coming out, you know, it's just falling out in patches.
Yeah.
I recall, you know, with my pregnancies, it was probably the worst time of my life where I was losing hair. So the baby comes, and then 3 months later, all my hair's falling out.
Oh my gosh.
And it gets dry and limp, and then my hair was so long, Nancy, and then I had to cut it up to here just because it lost all its luster. And then women out there, they don't realize that this is hormonal. What's going on is hormonal. Like, there's physiological, biochemical markers in your body that support the oxidative stress that is associated with hair loss. So hormones is the #1 big factor. So I encourage people to go see their endocrinologist. I encourage them to go see their, you know, dermatologist and say, hey, I need someone to check my hormone levels, specifically estrogen and testosterone. Those are the ones that are associated with hair loss. If you have too much testosterone, it converts into, you know, a hormone called DHT, you lose hair. If you have the perfect level of testosterone, your hair actually starts to grow. If you don't have enough estrogen, it makes your hair grow. So women everywhere, when they come to my facilities or they go to one of my doctors that, you know, uses these therapies, their hair starts to grow. And then there's natural things that people can do too. For example, you know, someone's like, well, what's your daily routine? What do you do? And then I always talk about my grandma.
You have such beautiful hair.
Yeah, it gets super thick, and it wasn't like this. It was always, you know, like I said, every pregnancy I have to, you know, revive myself. So think of this like a garden. You have to fertilize and you have to water that garden, right?
Makes sense.
Because they're like tiny little trees growing out of your head, right? So I tell women, #1, I love doing these natural solutions like the avocado oil. I mix avocado oil with lemon juice, and I put it, you know, in a blender, or I just mix it, and I buy one of those hair masks, and I put that all through my hair, and I leave it in there for 30 minutes. That avocado oil is loaded with essential fatty acids. It's loaded with, you antioxidants, and that's nourishing the hair. It takes away the dryness, makes it super shiny, but it just encourages more growth. And I do other things like castor oil or eggs. My mom was a big believer with eggs. So I would take about 2 eggs and I would blend the eggs and I would give all of those peptides, those proteins from the eggs, the iron, the B12 in the eggs, it's specifically going to nourish the hair.
How often do you do this?
I do that once a month. So once a month I give, instead of going and buying like a keratin treatment, that can be pricey, super pricey. You can go in your refrigerator and you look for whole food ingredients that help revive the hair.
And that's what we've talked about, going as natural as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and it works. Why mess with a good thing?
Right. But you brought some natural supplements here too that you recommend.
Yep, I formulated this specifically for my guys with alopecia, the women that have, pattern balding, and then, the alopecia, the guys will get all these male pattern, and it's genetic. As you get older, the body just naturally starts to become deficient and it slows down. So this just helps to, anti-age your hair follicles. So it encourages those hair follicles not to die.
What are
Metabolic Hair Pro, this is a combination of Aroma Dim and B12, biotin, iron, and the folate. So this is the big one that has everything in it.
It has all 3 of these
Yep,
in
so you
there?
take 2 pills of those a day and you'll watch your hair grow thicker and stronger and shinier.
Really?
Yep, and then some people that just have hormonal issues, they have no deficiencies in the vitamins, I just recommend the Aroma Dim because it blocks a lot of the, synthetic hormones and it detoxes. And then I have the B12 and the folate. So B12 and folate, it nourishes red blood cells. And think of your hair. This is basically cells that have died off and is growing. I mean, it's pretty miraculous when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, look at these cells growing out of my head.
So how long would someone have to take that to notice this change?
Oh, within the first 2 to 3 weeks, you notice a change.
Really?
Right, yeah. And not only is it helping your hair, your nails grow. So your nails and your hair are very similar. So then you're going to have strong, healthy nails, and you're going to have strong, thick
So it
mane.
benefits a lot of other things other than just your hair growing. I mean, because your whole body is just one big organ.
Yep.
So it benefits.
It's going to benefit the full body.
everything.
Yeah, but this one is specifically formulated for hair, but it's going to strengthen the immune system because of all of the cellular support that you're getting from that supplement.
Okay, so somebody should actually then, if they start taking this, they should continue.
Yep, I continue. I never stop.
Okay.
And the moment I stop, I feel like my hair, I could stop for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I go, oh, why is my hair all of a sudden not as shiny? So it's just because you ate doesn't mean you're no longer going to be hungry. So you got to think of supplementing vitamins as part of your eating, your daily eating routine. You have to constantly water yourself and you have to constantly nourish and feed your body. Otherwise, it starts to degenerate.
Yep. And that happens, I mean, how you said between 16 and
as young as
16
to 65, yeah, and 16-year-olds will go through it. There's something going on in our environment right now. It's so toxic, and I think
and
it's
foods too.
the foods are all
everything.
synthetic.
And
Nancy.
stress, is that relative?
Stress 100%. Cortisol, that goes with the hormones.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again, and we'll
you.
see you next week.
Thank you.
With more financial tips, Esther Holt with Star Financial Solutions is back with us right after the break. With more financial tips, Esther Holt is back with us this week. Hello, Esther.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So this week we're going to talk about performance, okay? Often we hear that an advisor or portfolio manager is outperforming in the market.
Correct.
What does that mean?
Normally it means that they have outperformed or done better than a certain index. Most of the time it's the S&P 500. There are other indexes, but most of the time they're talking about that. It's supposed to be a good general picture of all the stock market.
And can people find that readily online?
Oh, online, in the papers, on TV, everywhere. Okay. Yeah, you can see what the S&P. Also, the 3 major indexes are the Dow Jones Industrials, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ.
Okay, and those are the 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, those are the 3 that most people
Yeah.
keep their eyes on and get a good.
Actually, NASDAQ is not an index.
Okay. Okay.
It's a market, but the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrials is only 30 companies, so the S&P is 500, and that's usually what they talk about.
Okay. Okay. Now, what's a good basis to know whether your accounts are doing well or not? I mean, you're going to be looking at these.
Well, let's
indexes.
first talk about, if this really is a good way to see if you're outperforming or
Sure.
not. And the answer is no.
Okay.
So what happens is most portfolios don't look just like the S&P 500. So if yours does, then it's a good way to tell whether you're doing better or not. But the S&P 500 is only very large companies and only 500 stocks. So if you have smaller companies, if you have medium-sized companies, if you have bonds, if you have alternative investments, then you're not going to look like the S&P 500. So it's not really a good way to tell whether you're doing better or not. You really need to know what yours is. And sometimes when they say, I've outperformed the S&P 500, it means that they've done better. But sometimes it means that you've still lost money. You just haven't lost as much,
yeah.
like in 2008.
Okay. Are there other measures for knowing whether your stocks are doing well or not?
Well, stocks in your portfolio in general. So with my clients, they come in to see me and we discuss this. And when we put together a portfolio for them, I will tell them, you know what, when you see the 6 o'clock news and you see that the S&P has gone up a lot, you can expect that your account has gone up, but maybe not as much because we're more conservative than that is. Also, but when it goes down, you may not go down as much. Again, because most of my clients' portfolios do not look like the S&P 500. The other thing that people don't understand is that the S&P 500 is a little bit more risky than people think. So more than 1/4 of the S&P 500 is invested in tech stocks, which of course are very volatile and have higher risk. So again, if you have the old stodgy companies like utilities and banks, they're not represented as well as the more aggressive ones. And again, we've already just talked about diversifying and we've discussed how to rebalance.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons why.
Okay. Well, a lot of this sounds familiar, sounds like what we've been talking about the past couple weeks. So is there anything else that you'd like to add today?
Basically, when you start to do this, you need to go to your financial advisor and really talk about what you have and understand what you have. And then you can decide how you're going to invest or how much risk you want to take, what it's going to look like. Do you want to have more in international, maybe more that pay dividends, all different kinds of investments out there. So totally work with your financial advisor. Broker check your financial advisor and make sure you're getting very good information from that person.
Okay. Any final tip before we close this week?
Well, as usual, I have a disclosure.
Okay.
Diversification may reduce some risks of investing, but does not insure against market losses. As always, I believe you should work with a credible financial advisor who will work with you to make sure you are invested in a way that suits your needs. Feel free to call me for a no-obligation portfolio review.
Great. Thanks, Esther. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us on Aging Gracefully on Suncoast FYI. To find more tips from local experts, you can view previous episodes and complete seasons at snntv.com under Programming. We'll be back next Saturday and Sunday at 7 p.m. with more tips on how you can live a happier and healthy life. Until then, have a wonderful week.